Today, I'm back with another mega physical media collection video for you all. Today, I'm going to be showing off my entire sci-fi movie collection on my 4Ks, Blu-rays, collector box sets, special editions, yeah, name it. I'm going to show it off to you all right now. I'm going to say a little bit about each movie title as we go through the collection. There's a lot to get through, so let's get right into it. So just picking off the top of the pile here, we have the Back to the Future 35th Anniversary Limited Edition collection on 4K Ultra HD. Now, oh my goodness, this is such a fantastic collection. This is how you do a 4K steelbook collection, just how they all sit nicely right there. But what's nice is there's actually some dividers in between, so it protects them a little bit more, those steelbooks, which I really like. Displays it really nice. And the box itself is a little bit flimsy. That could have been improved a little bit, but I have seen a lot worse in 4K box sets, so not too bad. But the steelbooks are fantastic here and just how they set. It just looks so nice. So you get all of the 3 movies here. And just to show the steelbooks as well real quick. Wow, this is such a great movie set here. So you have Back to the Future, the first one, of course, one of my favorite movies of all time. Not just one of my favorite sci-fi movies, but definitely on my top 10 list. I love this movie. It is fantastic. All the characters are great and such a creative idea. This is a movie that does time travel right. And so let's take a look at Back to the Future Part 2. I really like Part 2 as well. Part 2 is a really good movie as well. It's actually in my top 10 as well. So I got Part 1 there, Part 2 as well. But really good. Steelbook for this one as well. Just looks so cool. I really like how they did these steelbooks. Next we have Part 3, of course. Now this is when we get into sci-fi western genre here. Not as well liked to me as the first 2 movies, just in my opinion. I like the first 2 a lot more than this one, but this is still a really good movie. Just not the best movie of all time, in my opinion. Doesn't make my top 10 list, but still really good. And how they combine sci-fi and westerns, it's just fantastic how they do that in this movie. So fun little idea for our Part 3, something different. So all really good movies. You can consider this one of the best trilogies of all time. It actually might be the best trilogy. And just to show the backs off, this was the back for Part 1. Nice iconic scene there. This was the back for Part 2. Yes, another iconic scene. I like how they do the backs on these steelbooks. They put iconic scenes from the movies. Wow, such a great job there. And this was the back of Part 3. So perfect, excellent work there for all those steelbooks. And once again, it's in a nice looking box set. So can't go wrong with that. Those movies are essential to have in any sci-fi collection. Haven't met anybody yet that did not like Back to the Future. So really love having that collection there and on 4K. Just so perfect. Alright, next we're going to go to a movie that's not as well liked. This is Chappy here, but this is mine and my fiance's movie because we saw this movie on our very first date. Took her to go see Chappy. I know some people don't like this movie, but I think it's underrated. It isn't the best movie of all time, but I still think it's enjoyable and it's fun action sci-fi. So I think the Chappy character is really interesting and cool looking. And so I like the premise of this movie. I think it works all right. So you know what? I like Chappy more than most people out there. I do understand that. But this is a nice little Blu-ray steelbook. So I like this Blu-ray steelbook. Really cool. So I'm happy to have Chappy. This one totally is a good pickup for my taste anyway. But yeah, I got that one as an anniversary gift for my fiance. Just kind of remember our first date. Alright, next we got Close Encounters. This is a Steven Spielberg movie. I just picked up this one recently and watched it because this was actually pretty cheap. I think it was under 15 bucks. For the 4K, when I see a deal like that, I get really tempted, so I had to pick this one up. And I'm a big Steven Spielberg fan. Spielberg is my favorite director of all time. He will always be the GOAT to me. So I want to see all his movies. I've seen a lot of his movies, but I never saw Close Encounters before. But I watched it. Is it my favorite Spielberg movie? No, definitely not. It's probably towards the bottom of the list, but there's still some great things in here. It's still directed really well for the time, really awesome visuals, and also an awesome sound and musical score in it. So there's definitely some memorable things in here. Also, how it ends is really interesting as well. So there's good parts to this movie, just overall not one of my favorites of all time, but I like having it in the collection anyway. You gotta have the Spielberg movies in the collection, and for a 4K at a good deal like that, how to get it. Now next, I have something that wasn't such a good deal at all. This is The Core. This is a Shout Select title. So I picked this up as a new release. It was over 20 bucks. I think it was around 22 bucks, but way overpriced, way overpaid for this one because it's just a Blu-ray. Doesn't come with a slipcover or anything like that. Doesn't even come with a DVD or a 4K. Nothing. No. It's just The Core on Blu-ray, Shout Select, and there's actually no special features added into the movie. It's just everything that was ported over from the DVD. So that was really disappointing because usually Shout Select will add in new special features. They did not do that for this movie, so there's really no point to get the Shout Select edition of The Core. If you already have The Core in your collection, then you're good with the edition you have. You do not need to upgrade to this Blu-ray Shout Select one, but it's alright, you live and you learn. But I do like this movie. I like this movie more than most people out there. It's a fun little disaster film. I know some people really despise this movie. I never got that. It's not a perfect movie. There's some logic gaps in there, of course, but I always thought it was a fun, entertaining movie. I really like the cast in here as well, so the actors are great in this movie, and I think there's some entertaining sequences here, and I do end up caring about a lot of the characters as they go through the course, so I was happy with this movie. To me, it's one of my disaster movies I like a little bit more than most, so definitely The Core. Recommend getting some edition of The Core, just not the Shout Select edition. You're going to overpay for this one, unless they've discounted it since then. Alright, next we have District 9. I know a lot of people love this movie. This is made by the same director that did Chappy, and I know everybody always picks District 9 over Chappy. This is the go-to for them. Now, there are some things I like about this movie. I like how it's done in a documentary style. Kind of reminds me of The Office. There's some satire and comedic moments here, some political commentary. So I thought it's really interesting how this movie was filmed. I think the creature designs were really intriguing as well. They looked really cool too visually. And so I like this movie, but I don't love it. I know some people love this movie. It's their go-to. But for me, it's just, I like this movie. I actually probably would pick Chappy off the shelf more times than this one, just because I think Chappy has more action in it. So I do like Chappy a little bit more than this one, but I still think this one is a good, solid movie. And most people will say this one's way better than Chappy. So yeah, you gotta have your preference there. But really nice steelbook as well. This is the 4K Ultra HD. Picked this one up from Best Buy. It wasn't a bad price when I got it. I think it was discounted a little bit, but I do like the style of the steelbook. So it's fun having this one in the collection. Alright, so continuing on with our collection here, we do have one I picked up recently, and I picked up Dune on 4K Ultra HD. I actually got this in a buy two, get one free deal from Target, and this movie was already on sale. This movie was already like 13 bucks. It got way discounted since its initial release. I was not going to pick this one up for like 25 bucks. No, it wasn't going to happen because this was only a part one. I was kind of waiting on part 2 to come out and then get probably a double pack they're going to release with it, part 1 and part 2 on 4K. But I saw this one on sale, plus a part of the buy 2 get 1 free deal. So I was able to get King Richard for free. And so I had to go with this one. Now that it was so discounted, I'm like, okay, well, if I get this one discounted and then I get part 2 discounted, then, it kind of evens out. So I'm okay with that. And it still had the really cool looking slipcover. And this movie is gorgeous to look at. How they use the desert and the sand, it's just amazing visually. Also, the sounds in this movie, oh my goodness. sounds amazing. And with the 4K quality, the Dolby Atmos track, I mean, this movie just really sings. It's so good to view at home with the 4K. Now, in terms of the story, I'm not a massive fan of Dune. I'm not like somebody who's read the books and watched the old Dune movie, so I'm not a massive fan of the Dune story in general so far. I've only seen this part one here, but I think it's going to end really good in part two. But for what they gave us, it only being a half a story with a part one, I liked it for the most part. I just don't love it as much as most people. Even though this movie, once again, sounds great, it looks great, I still need to see how the story ends. I need to get a part two. And it was a little confusing to me because I did not know all the Dune houses and characters. I had to do some research on it afterwards. But what's great is this movie actually gives you tons of bonus features, over an hour of bonus features here. So really, really great to have this because it explains all the houses, the characters, the setup of Dune. So if you don't know about Dune that much, like I really didn't know too much about it before seeing it in theaters, this special features here really gives you some good in-depth knowledge about the story and also how they made the movie as well. So that's always fun. So I think they did a really good job on the bonus features. Usually on new movies, they don't do so good on bonus features, but hey, this one, they actually did a stellar job. So really like this one in the collection. And I was still able to get it with the nice slipcover for the deal. So good. Glad to have Dune Part 1 in the collection. Can't wait for Dune Part 2. All right, next we got another box set collection here, and we have the Matrix Trilogy, the 4K Ultra HD. So you get all three movies. So you get Matrix, Matrix Reloaded, Matrix Resurrections. Now this doesn't have the fourth movie in it because I got this collection before the fourth movie came out. Now they do have a collection with all four movies, so you may want to go with that one. That may be a better option at this point. But I wasn't a massive fan of the new one, so I'm okay with not having that one in the collection. Unless it gets like super, super discounted in the future, then maybe it's a Black Friday pickup. But I'm okay with having just these three at the moment. I really do like the first Matrix. I think the first Matrix, when you think sci-fi action, you gotta think the first Matrix. Such awesome, iconic scenes in there with like the bullet time movements. Just looks so cool. So I really like the first one. I think the second one is okay, Matrix Reloaded. I don't think it's terrible, but I don't think it's great either. And it's definitely a step down from the first one. And then you get the Matrix Resurrections and oh my goodness. But yeah, it's just, ooh, yeah. But Matrix Revolutions, the third one, yeah, it's a big step down as well. It's even a step down from Reloaded. So yeah, Matrix Revolutions, it was okay. It was okay. Not the worst movie I've ever seen, but also, doesn't live up to the first one, unfortunately. But still glad to have all three of these movies in the collection because that first movie is so iconic and the 4K looks so nice on it. So, had to pick this one up. Needed for any sci-fi collection. All right, next we're going to have a steelbook here. This is going to be the Power Rangers limited edition steelbook. Got this one from Target back in the day. It actually came with a booklet, kind of like like a comic booklet sort of. So that was kind of cool to get that in the steelbook. So that's why I went with this one. I do like the symbol on the front. I think that looks really cool. Well, actually, that's the back of it. The front, let's see if we can see the front here. Well, the front, I would have to take off all the booklet and cards, so I'm not going to do that. But the front actually looked pretty cool with the Power Rangers on it. But this is an alright movie, the new Power Rangers movie. It's okay. I was expecting it was going to be terrible. It didn't end up being terrible, but it didn't end up being great either. There were some cheesy moments in it. The villains, yeah, definitely pretty cheesy. So it was okay, not perfect. So maybe slightly just kind of not, super hyped about this one or excited about it. I mean, that's probably why they didn't do a sequel to it. But it's okay. It's okay for a Power Rangers movie. Could have been better, but could have been a lot worse too. So still happy to have that in the collection. And to me, I definitely think it's science fiction. I did have a little struggle, deciding, hey, what genre do I put this into? But I'm going with sci-fi on this one. I still think it's sci-fi action, maybe sci-fi action fantasy. So I ended up putting it in sci-fi, personally. All right, next we have, this is one I really, really like. This is a steelbook as well. We have the 4K Ultra HD steelbook of Ready Player One. This is one I got from Best Buy. I really, really like this movie. A lot of people don't talk about this one anymore. When it first came out, it was really popular. A lot of people talked about it, but I don't see a lot of people talking about this one anymore. But this movie is such a fun sci-fi action adventure story. Now, I never read the book, so I don't know if it lives up to the book, but in terms of a movie, it's really fun. So many different iconic characters show up and cameos and really fun action sequences, and I really care about all the characters in this movie. So really a compelling, intriguing story. This is the kind of sci-fi movie I lean towards, so I like this style. I think it's so good. Really, really like this one. Such an awesome movie. All right, next we're going to have Psycho Gore Man. Now, I know initially, at first, you may hear Psycho Gore Man, and you may think, oh, is that a horror movie? Why is it in the sci-fi collection? No, it's actually a sci-fi movie, more so to me than a horror movie. Even though there are some horror elements in there, there's definitely a lot of gore, but you can have a lot of gore in different kinds of movies, like action movies and sci-fi movies. So I would classify this more as a sci-fi movie myself. This one kind of reminds me of Power Rangers, but a rated R gory kind of Power Rangers with all the monsters that show up. And oh my goodness, just how Psycho Gore Man, PG talks. Oh my gosh, so hilarious. And the kids in this movie are so funny as well. How they talk with a PG Psycho Gore Man in here. And just look at that tagline there at the bottom. A heartwarming and heart-ripping family classic. How they say that, like, this is not a family film. There's so much gore in here. So yeah, it's kind of funny how they mention that there, but still a really fun movie. So once again, if you haven't seen this one, I can highly recommend checking it out. Lower budget movie, so maybe a lot of people missed this one, skipped on it. But I'm telling you, for a lower budget movie, this one's actually pretty good. So, Power Rangers, rated R with a lot of gore. If that sounds interesting to you, Psycho Gore Man, definitely get this one. But I like having that one in the collection. And the slipcover was really nice on it as well. All right, next we have the Star Trek 10 movie Stardate collection. Yeah, Stardate collection. I was looking at it, I'm like, wait, did that say Stargate collection? Yeah, Stardate collection. Yep. Okay, so Star Trek 10 movie collection here. So this is the Blu-ray set. So I'm happy having all 10 movies in the collection here. Now they do have 4Ks of some of these movies now, so if you haven't gotten any Star Trek movies, you were thinking about it, there are 4Ks available for it. But I got this set when it was really cheap and discounted. I think people knew the 4Ks were coming out, so this one went on sale. But just to have all these movies in the collection, I'm really happy with that. Now, this doesn't have the new Star Trek movies, the Kelvin timeline. No, it doesn't have those 3 new movies. This is just original Star Trek movies and Star Trek Next Generation movies. And so it was my first time watching any Star Trek, actually. Like, I never watched a show or anything before this collection. But I know Star Trek's iconic. I always more of a Star Wars fan, so I was up to date more on my Star Wars knowledge than Star Trek knowledge. So I had to go back, watch some Star Trek movies. And I really did like some of the Star Trek movies. I like the first one, the second one, to me, are definitely ones that stand out. The fourth one with the space whales, awesome. So I really like that one. Even the sixth one, I think, is really good as well. The other ones, I wasn't really into the Star Trek Next Generation ones as much. And some of the other Star Trek movies in between, like 3 and 5, weren't like my absolute favorites, but there's some good ones in here. You know, there's some hidden gems in here. If you haven't seen any Star Trek movie yet, or watched the Star Trek show, I think there's a few in here that you may like as well. But this, of course, is iconic, classic sci-fi. Gotta have this in the collection. It's totally sci-fi exploration, adventure kind of style movies, whereas Star Wars is more sci-fi heavy action, right? Star Wars, this is more about kind of just star exploration, I guess you could say, but it's still fun. I still prefer Star Wars, of course, a lot more because I'm more into the action, but this still has its moments and also has some good characters as well. So gotta have this in the collection, some kind of Star Trek movies anyway, or, you know, the 4Ks, but yeah, gotta have some Star Trek in the sci-fi collection. All right, next, now this is one I actually had in my action genre, but it's also sci-fi as well. It's Bumblebee. So Transformers, you gotta have this also in sci-fi, but sci-fi action, but this is one that's always tough to put on the shelf. Do I put it under action? Do I put it under sci-fi? Well, you know, Bumblebee, Transformers, they're alien robots basically. So yeah, we can classify it as sci-fi, but I really like Bumblebee. This is my second favorite Transformers movie. I really like the first Transformers, and then the other ones to me are really forgettable. Don't really like how the other ones are put together at all. But Bumblebee, this one kind of brought it back, a little bit more classic, kind of 80s feel to it, but more character driven. I think the characters in here are a lot better than some of the other Transformers movie. So having Bumblebee on 4K, really cool action visuals. You know you're going to get an action-packed, exciting time with a Transformers movie, but this one actually has a pretty good story and characters to go along with it. So how to get this in the collection? I think I got this one on a deal as well. It might have been a Black Friday deal actually for that one. All right, next. This is one you could probably put in a bunch of different areas on the shelf. The Predator 4 movie collection. I know I've shown this off in my action collection before, but this is also totally sci-fi because the Predators are alien creatures, so you can totally classify this into sci-fi, sci-fi action. I mean, you can almost actually put this in horror as well. I mean, so many different genres mixed in here, but the Predator movies are great movies, essential to any collection. It's great to have them on 4K. And I really like the first Predator movie. I like the second one a little bit more than most people, but of course not as good as the first one. And then I do like Predators. That's actually probably my second favorite out of this set here. And then the new movie, The Predator, no good, but it's okay. Nice to have this whole collection together, but I had to show it off in sci-fi because I think it's action sci-fi, so. All right, next, this is another movie I will put in action as well because this is my favorite action movie of all time, I believe. Terminator 2, Judgment Day, but this is totally sci-fi, right? Skynet, all of that, the Terminator, machines, Rise of the Machines, you know. I'm not talking about Terminator 3 though, because that, you know, we know about that movie, but Terminator 2 Judgment Day with the machines, totally a sci-fi movie, especially there's, you know, that time element of transporting these machines back in time, so that's really nicely done. But awesome action scenes, memorable characters, a lot of fun. Everybody has to have this in the collection. Even though this is a 4K, you actually might want to get the Blu-ray just because a lot of people don't like the 4K transfer on this one. A lot of people will rant about it. You need at least a Blu-ray of Terminator 2 Judgment Day. But gotta have this one in the collection. Totally works for the sci-fi genre as well. All right, next, I know I was just mentioning Star Wars here. Now this is a cool little Star Wars edition. This is a Star Wars, The Force Awakens 3D. This is a lenticular cover, actually, so you can see the lightsaber move on it with the snow in the background. Really, really cool. You get the Blu-ray 3D, Blu-ray, DVD, digital. I mean, this comes with everything. This is a really nice collector's edition. I actually got through a Disney Movie Insiders. I picked up on this one with points I had, able to redeem for this. So, you know, I'm like, hey, this is the best movie they have listed on there. It's something different. It's a lenticular. It's a 3D. I never had a 3D movie before this one, so I had to pick up on a 3D movie. Even though I can't play 3D, I don't have a 3D player or TV to be able to do so. But hey, at least I have the disc now, and this is just such a cool looking collector's edition. So I'm happy to have this movie in the collection. All right, next we're going to have, this is a Scream Factory title. You may think, oh, Scream Factory, that's always horror. Not necessarily so. This is They Live. I classify this more as sci-fi. Maybe some people will say there's a lot of horror elements in it because, you know, John Carpenter movie. Yeah, you can maybe argue that, but I think it's more sci-fi. You got aliens in here. You also have some good political commentary. Some dark comedy in here, some satire type of elements. I mean, this movie has it all, and oh my goodness, I just saw this movie, maybe a couple years ago, and oh my gosh, I was blown away by this movie. Such a good movie, one of my favorite John Carpenter movies of all time now. If you have not seen They Live, I can highly recommend this one. It is so good, and it has so many quotable lines in here, a lot of memorable scenes. And oh my goodness, it is such a fun time. They Live, gotta have this one. Definitely a good movie as well, and will make you think. So, gotta have They Live. I classify that as sci-fi over horror. So, totally a sci-fi movie to me. All right, next we have Total Recall. This is an Arnold movie, of course. This is the Blu-ray Steelbook. So I don't have the 4K of this one. There are 4Ks out there of Total Recall, but I got the Blu-ray pretty cheap from Target. I think it was about 10 bucks when I got it. But you gotta have Total Recall in the collection. Now to me, I'm not a massive Total Recall fan. It's not like my favorite sci-fi movie of all time or anything. But it's definitely a memorable one. There's a lot of memorable scenes. It's a good Arnold movie, some good action in there, some good visuals. It's a little bit confusing of a story for me. I probably have to go back and rewatch it again. But yeah, very interesting premise. So you got to have Total Recall in the collection. But maybe you want to go with the 4K on it. I heard that's pretty good. So got to have Total Recall. All right, next. This one's a little bit more of an interesting title here. The Wraith. Yes, this is a nice little looking slipcover here. That's kind of why I picked up on it. And it's pretty cheap. It was only like 13 bucks or so, or under that. And so this is a very low budget sci-fi action kind of movie. Wow, yeah, this is something different, but I did like it. I thought it was an intriguing premise. So even though you can tell it's very low budget, there are some iconic actors in here that you may recognize as well. But yeah, I think this is it's a fun movie. You can even see the tagline there. He's heaven sent and hell on wheels, the Wraith. Wow, yeah, I mean, that tells you the movie totally right there. So interesting premise. I think the Wraith is a very interesting kind of villain type of character. It looks really intriguing as well. So yeah, I like picking this one up pretty cheap as well. So yep, glad to have that one in the collection. And then next, this was one I also put in my action collection. Elita Battle Angel. To me, this movie totally works as an action movie as well. But there's so many good sci-fi visuals in here, just all the technology they use. So totally can be classified as a sci-fi movie as well. So have to have this one in the collection. And this one also, this has the 4K, this has a Blu-ray 3D in it, which is nice, the Blu-ray and digital. So oh my goodness, actually I didn't even realize that it did have the Blu-ray till I just read that right now. So apparently I have 2 Blu-ray movies in my collection, which is pretty awesome. So I'm happy to have Elita Battle Angel in the collection. Definitely a nice little pickup here. And I think I got this one pretty cheap. And if it's still available, I'm sure it's pretty cheap as well to pick up now. But yeah, glad to have that one in the collection as well. But those are all my sci-fi movies in my collection. I definitely want to expand my sci-fi collection, add more of the iconic movies in there. So let me know in the comments, what movies should I be adding to my collection? I know there's a lot of them that I should have in the collection, like the Star Wars movies. I know I should have all of them in the collection, but I can't stream them on Disney Plus, so that's why I'm hesitant to get them, especially because they can be a little bit more expensive. And I like the original editions, which I do have a VHS set here as well. But yeah, let me know in the comments below, what are some sci-fi titles you recommend that I pick up? What are some sci-fi titles you liked in my collection? And yeah, we'll have those fun sci-fi movie discussions down below. Also, if you're just discovering the channel for the very first time and you really like collection videos and just unique physical media topics, I cover a lot on my channel. Make sure you subscribe right now. Turn on that notification bell so you do not miss when I post a video.
Do it. You did well.
And if you like this physical media topic video, click another video to see more. Also, like the video, and this is Mega Mike the Movie Man reminding you to make every day a movie day.